I just bought the cheapest McLaren in the United States. Okay, I know that's totally a clickbait title, I admit it, but this is a McLaren. Well, sort of. Let me explain. This is my 1990 Pontiac Turbo Grand Prix, also known as the ASC McLaren edition. The ASC McLaren Turbo Grand Prix was built for the 1989 and 1990 model years only. A joint effort between General Motors, American Sunroof Corporation, and McLaren Engine, it features a turbocharged 3.1-liter V6, reworked and reinforced by McLaren to achieve 205 horsepower. You also got 16-inch gold basket weave wheels, upgraded suspension, unique bodywork, and functional hood louvers. 0 to 60 time was a respectable for the era 7 seconds, and this car could reach 128 miles per hour. Pontiac's "We Built Excitement" tagline may not have been true for most of the Pontiacs built in 1990, but it certainly was true for this one. Despite its handsome looks, advanced features, and stout performance, fewer than 3,500 of these cars were sold. Before we get too far in this video, let's clear up one thing first. When you hear the name McLaren, you probably think of the supercar manufacturer and the F1 racing team. You might be led to believe that McLaren's F1 team had a hand in modifying this Grand Prix, but that's not really the case. McLaren has a somewhat confusing history with numerous spin-offs and mergers. Back in the 1970s, Bruce McLaren's North American operations were spun off into a separate organization, and it's this US-based McLaren that helped create the Turbo Grand Prix. So the Turbo Grand Prix certainly does have some McLaren racing heritage in its blood, but it's not exactly the same British McLaren that went on to build those iconic supercars. So back to my McLaren, Turbo Grand Prix. Let's just bask in the late 80s, early 90s glory that is this car. That plastic body cladding. Oh, how Pontiac loved body cladding in the 1990s. Oh, in this interior, wait till you see this interior. So many buttons. The standard Grand Prix gave you seating for 5. Opt for the Turbo and you only get seating for 4. But everyone gets their own lazy boy-like bucket seat. Look at how much padding there is. Huge bolsters. And just look at the amount of adjustability on these seats. This was kind of a big deal back in the late 80s and the early 90s. Combination lock for the glove box. Power moonroof. And check out this information center. And this compass. And some really nice elegant map lights in the rear. Pop-out ashtrays for all the smokers in your back seat. Rear seat passengers get cup holders. None in the front, but you shouldn't be drinking while you're driving anyway. And a trunk pass-through for your skis, because everyone skied in the 90s. A heads-up display in 1990. This was one of the first heads-up displays you could get. Overall, this car is a pretty well-designed and well-crafted interior, something that General Motors wasn't exactly known for in the 1990s. So my Turbo Grand Prix is not exactly a proper working specimen, so I won't be able to take it on a long road trip or anything like that. There's a few things wrong with it that kind of make it dangerous to drive, so I'm just gonna drive around my neighborhood and hopefully I don't crash into anything. And I hope I don't get pulled over because this car is not registered or insured. Let's go. Starts right up. And yes, there's a lot of warning lights on. More on that in a bit. So I purchased this car a couple months ago for the tiny sum of $1,000. So yes, it is the cheapest McLaren in the United States. Why so cheap, you might ask? Well, even in perfect running condition, this car might only fetch maybe $6,000, $7,000. And this particular example only has 70,000 miles on it. So why was it only $1,000? Oh, God. It's It's really hard to stop this thing. That's why it was only $1,000. Let me pull over and I can show you. Right over here is a part of the anti-lock braking system, which includes an accumulator ball which stores pressure. When working properly, the brakes on this car are fantastic, but the technology here was maybe just a bit ahead of its time to work reliably. As far as I can tell, this system has a 100% failure rate. I would bet that every Turbo Grand Prix has had this problem at least once. And I'm sure you've guessed it, but this system has obviously failed on my car as well. What this amounts to is a car that's kind of dangerous to drive. It takes an insane amount of force to stop the car. This car's too new to be coveted by collectors and to really have any sort of aftermarket parts support. But this car's too old to be able to buy any original factory parts. So it's kind of in this weird middle ground where you can't really fix it easily. All of the parts of this ABS system have been discontinued by General Motors. So what we have here is a brake system with a 100% failure rate that can only be fixed with junkyard parts, which themselves will fail. So instead of heading down that road, I think I want to find another similar era GM car that I can swap in some non-ABS brakes. And I'll do that in a future video series. Oh, and I think the turbocharger is going, so there's that too. This car is just really slow right now. But for $1,000, I was able to buy a car that runs and drives and whoa, whoa, whoa! Almost stops. Come on, you can do it. There we go, we stopped. Woo! But for $1,000, I was able to pick up a 1990 Turbo Grand Prix ASC McLaren edition. Yeah, it's got a bunch of problems, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to fix this thing, but you can't deny the incredible 1990s radness and coolness of this car. I mean, back in the 90s, I thought Pontiac's plastic cladding on the side of the cars was incredibly cheap and tacky, but looking back, it totally fits that era. All right, let's get this thing back home before I cause an accident. This thing is so slow. Something's majorly wrong with it. Why do I always buy cars that are broken? Even with the brake problem, I think I should be able to fix this car and bring it back to its former glory. In perfect running condition, this car is a real gem. Today, these cars are really only appreciated by Pontiac fanatics, but more people should know about these cars and what makes them special. The Turbo Grand Prix is one of those cars that's just an incredible buy right now, if you can find one. Chances are you can pick one of these cars up on the cheap. Just know that you'll likely have to fix the brakes. You'll definitely have to fix the brakes. I can see this car becoming a true classic in the coming years. The values for this car are probably near the bottom of the market, but as more and more people learn about these truly rad cars, those values are likely to go up. So if you can find one, buy it. And then you can tell all your friends that you drive a McLaren. Wink, wink. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you've seen today, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you're already subscribed, thank you. I'll have more videos where I take my weird cars to unique locations coming soon. See you later. Waiting for the helicopters to fly away. Up my audio. Helicopters up my audio. Why did I move near an airport again?